Welcome, everybody, to a Sirius XM Town Hall with Scorpions. Man, what a day we got going on here at Sirius XM. There's all kinds of activity going on in the hallways and all sorts of excitement, and a lot of excitement over the fact that we have members of the Scorpions here to talk to us for the next hour. Not only are we live on Sirius XM Volume, but we also are broadcasting live to everybody on Facebook Live as Tom Morello makes funny faces at me outside of the glass. So, yeah, it's crazy here. We got the guys from Prophets of Rage here. Apparently Gene Simmons is walking the hallways. And we got the Scorpions guys coming in. What a great place to be. What a great day it is here. And I'm looking forward to talking to Klaus and Matthias, who are getting ready to kick off a big tour of the U.S. with Megadeth, and they will be joining us in a second. We're also going to be taking questions from our audience. We have some great listeners sitting right here in front of us, some Sirius XM subscribers. Say hello, everybody. Make a little noise so they know you're here. There we go. And all you guys are going to see Scorpions, right? It doesn't mean I'm giving you no, yeah. So if you give me tickets, no, I mean, the idea is that you buy the tickets to go. Scorpions with Megadeth, and that's going to be a great tour as well. So are the guys standing by? Are we ready? Oh, they're in the bathroom. See, they rushed me out of the bathroom to get here for them, and now they're in the bathroom. But it's pretty remarkable when you think about this band for, here comes Klaus giving me the thumbs up. If you think about this band, 50 years that they've been doing it, and they are still doing it so well. I see somebody, is that a Virgin Killer album cover right there? Oh my God, the replacement cover, not the original cover. But the albums, the music that they've given us for all these decades, some of the best rock, and they're still doing it. You know, there was a time where you thought they were going to kind of retire, and they flirted with that, and now they seem sort of reinvigorated and out there doing it better than ever. So let's welcome them right now. Oh, Matthias. Give it up for Klaus and Matthias one more time, everybody. How are you guys? Welcome back to America and to New York City. It's always great to see you.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. I mean, it seems like whenever we come to America, first thing we run into is Eddie Trunk. You know?
Am I at the airport with a sign? Yes. Welcome, Scorpions.
Yeah, with tons of records to sign.
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring that up because I was thinking about this the other day when I knew I was going to be talking to you guys today. And I remember not too long ago, maybe like 10, 11 years ago, you were playing a show in Oklahoma. It was at a place, there was like a zoo in the back. Remember, there were animals, and we were all, and you guys had played, and afterwards you pulled me into the dressing room, and I thought I was going to interview you, and you, Klaus, ended up interviewing me. Do you remember that?
I remember this, yeah, with our friends Beavis and Butthead, right? You know, that's where some mega cool fans from the Chicago area. They keep following us for so many years whenever we come to the States. And so they were hanging at that gig as well. Or was it just Timmy? You know, but I remember he was there. And then we said, okay, Eddie Trunk, now we take interview. We make interview with you.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is because it was what you were talking to me about at the time. And that was the fact that you had just started to tour in the U.S. again and start to play. And you were sort of kind of like trying to figure it all out again. You were saying, hey, what's going on here in the U.S.? You know, we don't feel the same sort of energy that we felt for Scorpions. The same amount of people aren't coming out. Now, you're getting ready to start a tour. I mean, you're playing Madison Square Garden, so obviously some things have changed, right?
Yes.
I mean, it was the second half of the 90s hit us as well. The 90s were bad for most bands from the 80s, the classic rock bands. And we were lucky with like a big album like Crazy World, with hits like Wind of Change, Send Me an Angel, Tease Me, Please Me. We had songs that, you know, helped us go through the first half of the 90s. But the second half was kind of tough on everybody and also on us. And so we needed to come back in the early 2000s, I think it was 2004, with Unbreakable, that we like got back into our own path and our own style. And we were not listening to anybody else from the record industry anymore. You know, they said, you know, in the late 90s, you got to change your style. Everything is old-fashioned from the 80s. And meanwhile, you hear the radio station people go, oh, the greatest musical decade ever was the 80s. So there you have it. So
Did-
then
did
we
you-
came back.
Did you feel, Klaus, that at that time that it was a tough time for Scorpions to try to navigate what you should and shouldn't be doing? As Matthias said, people in your ear. You guys want to stay true to what you do. You have a certain segment of fans. You also want to grow and evolve. I mean, talk about how you were feeling as one of the founding members of the band, dealing with all that.
Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, I mean, we had a long career already back then.
Yeah.
And with all the ups and downs throughout all those decades, and I mean, with this huge success of Crazy World, and especially in Europe with Wind of Change, so then it was like grunge came in, and it was like in the record companies. I remember here in New York, it came to our label, and we didn't recognize anybody anymore, and they didn't recognize us. It was like we never been before here in America. It was all different. It was like, what you're doing here, you're past, you're 80s, so go home. This is it. There was a whole new generation of A&Rs and the labels and new bands. The whole vibe, it was like, okay, we're doing what we're doing. We have quite a pretty good history, but it was like, seems like it's over. So we struggled throughout the 90s, and yes, we did some albums that were more focused on ballads and stuff. So, but it was like fading out. And towards the end of the 90s, it became really like looking for where is our place, And I remember we recorded an album, Eye to Eye, in Austria with Peter Wolf, who used to be a keyboard player, and Frank Zappa. Pretty cool guy, he had a great studio in the mountains. It was beautiful, but he tried to change us also a little bit, and we were not sure where we belong anymore. I remember running into Cliff Richard, like a British singer. He was at the same time also in a studio complex. And so he came to me and said, Klaus, Peter Wolf, always the producer, he wants me to sing very high. But that's totally not my style of singing. And said, with me, it's the other way around. I go up there really high, but he wants me to sing low. So I ended up in all those songs, when the sun was going, I was singing in those low keys. And in the end, it was an album that was interesting. But for our fan base, it was like, oh, come on, they lost it. I think Rudolf's brother called him and said, are you guys making dance music now or something? So we were experimenting. And for the whole vibe in the band, it was like, it didn't feel right. So, and it took some time to come back. And when we made this album with the Berlin Philharmonics and later on Acoustica, it was like getting back to what this band is all about. And in 2003, I think with Unbreakable, we found back to what made this band strong in the first place, and we were ready to do it again. But the end of the 90s, it was really tough, and many bands didn't survive. Many classic rock bands they were big in the 80s, but in the 90s, it was tough. And funny enough, or ironically, for so many alternative bands 10 years later, they were facing the same thing. So we learned what we learned about it was like it goes in circles, so just the strongest survive, and you have to believe in yourself and what you do and just go for it. But we learned our lessons, and we came back.
So you can imagine this time that they interviewed me, Klaus was asking me the answers to all these questions, how to get back. And I'm saying, I wish I knew, Klaus. I'd be a millionaire if I knew what to tell you. But you just kept doing what you're doing. And that's the interesting thing about Scorpions is during those times, because a lot of people look back and they look at the 90s and when the scene changed, and some of them went away. Some of them ended. Some of them broke up. Some of them fell apart. But Matthias, you guys never ended. You took some different steps. You tried some different things, but you always persevered. And I imagine in other parts of the world was a little bit different because you're so big globally. I'm sure outside of America, was Scorpions looked at differently at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. We always continued. Now looking back, we can, we have a different perspective. We can say, this is why this happened, this is why this happened. When you're in the middle of it, you don't know. We felt like we were struggling a bit, especially, as far as the fan base in Europe and America was concerned. But at the same time, we had like a big hit in Asia, with You and I and the Pure Instinct album. It was super successful. And in the early 2000s, we had like a Diamond Award for an album called Acoustica, an unplugged album from Portugal, which we recorded in Old Monastery, probably not even released here in the States. It got a Diamond Award, meaning it sold more than double platinum, whatever it means. Very successful. I think we played in 82 countries in our long career, and therefore we were not really suffering from one or another market, being weak at a certain time. We were busy enough in the rest of the world, but still, looking back, we know much better now that it affected us. It affected the entire music industry, especially the radio and the record company people. And as a sensitive musician, even though you think you know what you've been doing, and as Klaus said, we had a long career behind us in the late 90s already, but as a sensitive person, it still gets to you, even if you don't want to. And every guy's, this distorted guitar shit, Yes, it made the career for a few.
Yeah,
but that's how
it
they
was
were
in
talking,
the
these
studio.
idiots.
It was really weird, because it was like, oh, no, please, no lead guitar solo.
Yeah, here I am. No solo again.
No.
Yeah, great.
We find something else. Let's find something else.
Matthias was like, if we're not going to do solos, you don't need me then.
Exactly.
Rudolph can just play.
I mean, we really cut that short because think about this, the stupidity, and then the result is the album wasn't that successful.
Yeah.
So, we went back to our own way, not listening to anybody but ourselves, and that's much better.
You think about a 50-year career, which is just unbelievable. And as we sit here and talk, Klaus, I'm thinking about the earliest days of the band, Lonesome Crow and the first introduction to Scorpions and the different versions of the band and the different lineups. But you're right. You've seen from your perspective all ends of this, because Scorpions start out late 60s, early 70s, and you guys have this whole career throughout the 70s that's very successful in certain parts of the world, except for America. So you were dealing with that even in the earliest days of trying to figure things out, right? Like saying, wait a minute, we can go and make a live album like Tokyo Tapes in Japan and have all these people love us. And here in America, most people didn't even know who Scorpions were. So you've experienced this a number of times in the 50-year career of the band, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, for so many bands, it goes for America as much as for Europe, or like our country back home in Germany. When you sing your songs, you write your songs, perform your songs in your mother language, you perform in your country for your people. That goes for most of the American bands. They don't go all over the world. So many of those American bands, they pretty much focused on their market, on America, And of course, there are many acts these days. They also go overseas and are successful there as well, But that's not like a given thing, And the same the other way around. For European acts, I mean, so many bands like us, when we started, dream about one day we play America. Oh, come on, they're waiting for you, yeah. So it's like a dream, and for many, it's just a dream forever because they never can make it true. We always believed in ourselves, but the thing is, when you start writing lyrics in English, you know, for a band that is guitar orientated, for this kind of classic rock style, we always believed that it sounds the best in English, even though we couldn't speak it really well, you know, but it sounded great. You know, we wanted to do it and sing in English, and finally, at the end of the day, it was a ticket for a world career, you know. So otherwise, you never would have heard about Scorpions, a band from Germany, you know, because like all those other German acts, I mean, the fact that most of them these days sing in German in their own language, and they're very successful doing so, but they never have a chance to play in France or next door in Holland, or, you know, they go... You know, no way, you know. So if some of those very successful German artists, if we tell them we play next week Madison Square Garden, they go, what the fuck, you know. Yeah, how they're doing that, you know. So it's something, it's it's far beyond your wildest dreams, you know. But where we are now, it's like, it's a long story, you know, and just going through up and downs, and especially when you're down, then to have a band where friendship is solid, you know, and where you feel we're a team. We face bad times now, okay, then we try to figure out, you know, if we're strong enough, if we're good enough. And this was the thing. When we went and played the first time in America, we had to figure out, are we really good enough?
When was that? What was the very first time you played in America?
It was in '79, the World Series of Rock in Cleveland, Ohio.
Animal Magnetism Tour?
No, before.
Love Drive?
Love Drive.
Okay.
You know, big stadium, Cleveland. We played early in the morning, 10:30.
That was your first...
There were already 30,000 people in the stadium.
Yeah.
And
that was your first ever American show?
First ever American show. Unfortunately, I lost the T-shirt. Yeah, really. The bill was Ted Nugent headlining, Aerosmith, AC/DC, no, Journey, AC/DC, Thin Lizzy, Scorpions.
It's still a great bill.
Try to get that together today.
The order would be a little different, but it's still a great
a yellow
bill.
T-shirt, which unfortunately I lost. And it was fantastic because like Neil Sean from Journey, and I don't know if Joe Perry was there in the morning. When we played...
Probably not.
Or still up, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we played, and, you know, we were told 30 minutes. That's it. You know, those days it was strict. And so we played and played, but we couldn't stop, and we really went down well. So they went, what do we do with these crazy Germans? And somebody said that we need to pull the plug. We can't do this. So they tried to talk to us, but our English was very bad. So we didn't really listen. So we played at least 40 minutes. And but Neil Sean was there from Journey just to watch us, because he had heard the Scorpions are a great live band. And it was a very, very good first show we played in the States back in '79.
Wow, that's awesome. So many more stories to get into. 50 years of Scorpions, the band getting ready to kick off a tour with Megadeth supporting. Go to go to Scorpions website, find a date near you, and hopefully go see this great band as they come through America one more time. And we'll find out if there's going to be more times, too, because you guys flirted a number of years ago with that whole farewell retirement thing, and thankfully you're still here doing it. So I want to find out where that stands, and I also want to get, we got a great audience here sitting in front of us watching the interview. We'll include your questions as well. It's a Sirius XM Town Hall here on Volume. Eddie Trunk with Klaus and Matthias from Scorpions coming right back.
Sirius XM Volume presents a Town Hall with Scorpions. Will return in just a few minutes on Volume, Sirius XM 106. Sirius XM Volume presents a town hall with Scorpions. Now, back to your host, Eddie Trunk.
And we're back live on Volume and also on Facebook Live, and we're here talking to Matthias and Klaus from Scorpions as they get ready to kick off a tour of the U.S. As I mentioned, Megadeth is the opening act. Somebody pointed out to me earlier on my radio show, you guys have played with Megadeth before. Earlier, they saw you with Megadeth maybe like 15 years ago or something.
Yeah, we played festivals together. I remember Porto, I think, in Portugal. Very big festival. Yeah, they're touring Europe quite a lot, and once in a while we met on those kind of occasions. But this is the first time we actually toured together, and we are looking forward to it. They're nice guys, as far as I remember, if they haven't changed, and otherwise we change it.
Yeah, it should be. Last time you toured, I know you had Queensryche with you. You did the residency in Vegas that I came to not too long ago.
Last year was fantastic. Actually, every other year we played Vegas. They came to us and approached us and going like, "Come on, Scorpions, do a residency." And then last year we did it for the first time. We did 5 shows at the Joint,
Hard Rock, yeah,
the Hard Rock Hotel, and it was pretty cool. And you can understand why so many artists, they love playing Vegas, because the fans come from all over the world to see their favorite artists, and you have your place, for band and crew, and you don't need to move every other day like we do now and every other year. We're used to it, It's normally like when you play more than 2 shows in one theater or one venue, it's like, God, it feels like going to work,
Oh, so you like to move around? Most artists
like to move around.
Oh.
But I must say, all of us really enjoyed that residency. It was really cool, and they treated us really like Elvis. And we had the biggest billboard on the strip, and it was really cool. We enjoyed it, and we might do it again.
Yeah, I love that. And I know it's interesting, that perspective, though, because most acts, the reason they do it is because they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to move. The fans come to them. But you, after all these years, Matthias, you too, you like the travel? You like to be on the planes and moving around?
I mean, traveling is not that bad since we travel comfortable, but...
You're not in coach fighting for the exit row?
No, not anymore. But of course, I mean, that's the most exhausting part of touring.
Right.
I love to be on stage. A 2-hour show is nothing because we are enjoying it. Nobody can talk to us, and because we are too loud. And but the traveling part is okay. Living out of a suitcase. I don't know how we did it like 30, 35 years ago when we had only one suitcase. Maybe that was it because it was so simple. But today we have more than one suitcase, many more, Klaus. and that makes it, of course,
well,
more
look at how fashionable Klaus is. Come on.
Coming through immigration.
It's a nightmare.
Coming through immigration, Matthias goes, "Is that all yours, Klaus?" It's like...
Yeah,
all piled
he had
up
like
on one
6 or
trolley
7
or something.
cases.
The thing is,
I had only 6.
in America, it's the old rock and roll romantic to be on a tour bus.
Absolutely.
It really is, when you're back home, we go back to America, and you're looking so really forward, to feel, this kind of vibe, you play a show, go back on the bus, have a pizza, have a beer out of the fridge, drive into the night and wake up in the morning, and when you look out of the window, you see the Rocky Mountains or the sunrise in Texas, and Phoenix, Arizona, it's beautiful. It's really cool. But the reality is, after 1.5 weeks on the bus, you go, oh, how long I have to ride this bus, Because, you're in your bunk, it's like all night long,
6 months later, huh?
hours and hours and hours. And this is the way you travel America. But for the long trips, longer than 10 or 12 hours, we take the plane, to make it a little easier.
One suitcase.
Just to carry on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you guys about something you touched on earlier. The band's history, all these decades, in different parts of the world when you travel, you mentioned there are songs that in certain countries are hits, in certain countries they don't know. Here in America, as much as I love most of the eras of the band and know the early stuff as well as the 80s stuff, here in America it's mostly about Blackout, and those records in that period. So when you get ready to tour like you are now, I imagine you have to go through a process and look at what country you're in. You mentioned you played in 80-something countries and say, okay, this sort of set is going to be better received here, and oh, we're in Japan, so we better not leave out this material. Whose job is that to sit there and look at it and match up the set that's going to work best for where you are?
I mean, due to the internet in general, but YouTube and all those outlets, the world has come closer together. Also, in terms of who likes what out of our set of songs. So it's not so different anymore. 30 years ago, we depended on the local radio in Japan or Korea or Indonesia or wherever. And, people knew what the radio was playing more than, but today it's sort of like equalized. Mm-hmm. And therefore, the difference of our set list is not that big anymore. For example, No One Like You is a very big song in the US. And we definitely play it over here, but we don't necessarily play it in the rest of the world. In some countries we do, and sometimes we don't. And that's just one example. And so we change around a few songs, but, the people, our audience wants to hear the songs they like, the big songs. So let's say we have 10, 12, we always play. So the rest of the set list is like we can throw in a few new songs. We like to have a different opening song just for us, It's like to just start the show in a different way. That's usually a song from the latest album. And then, this time, for example, we have a 70s medley, we call it, songs from before my time even, or from the 70s. And shorter versions as a medley. And then we have another acoustic medley. So we vary, but we are within limits because the fans just have their favorites, and we like to entertain them as good as we can.
What's the one Scorpion song that no matter where you are in the world, you have to play? Is it?
It starts with rock and ends with Kane.
So that one connected everywhere. Yeah. That was everywhere. That made an impact everywhere.
Absolutely.
That's the song.
Worldwide.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking too, Matthias, here in the U.S., a lot of that 70s stuff, the stuff with Yuli, which I love and many other people love, it was very much off the radar here. So do you take full success for Scorpion's success, full credit for Scorpion's success in America?
No, it's a band. It's a
I'm just kidding with you.
I know, but it's I tell you what the difference is. Of course, Love Drive, my first album with the Scorpions, is the first worldwide release, so it released in the US. But I think when I joined, we sounded more like a unit than what the band sounded like in the 70s. Mm-hmm. It was a bit like, some sounds or songs were like on this side, a bit Hendrix influenced, and then some other stuff that was like giving you the direction of what there was to come. But I think since I joined, it sounds more like a unit, more like a team effort than before.
Were you, Klaus, prepared? Because you had Love Drive, you had Animal Magnetism, great records with Matthias. But were you prepared, and did you see that Blackout when you were making it? Did you have a feel that it was going to be the one that was going to finally break America for you? Did you have that sense when you were making that record?
No, because all my senses were focused on my voice, and my voice was gone.
You had problems then, right? Yeah.
So I was not thinking about anything other than my voice, and the band was in the studio, they recorded all those tracks, and I heard the tracks, in the back of my mind, and I knew that's some kind of a mountain I have to climb with my voice, and my voice was at the bottom of those mountains, and I had the feeling I never make it up there, so I was not thinking of the impact that record really had, but I mean, I told this story so many times, so fortunately after surgery, my voice came back, and I recorded those tracks, and we made this album, and it had this extra power, this extra energy, it was in there. About my part with the vocals on the album, because finally I made it back there, and I gave everything I had to give, I just wanted to sing. I wanted to make it work, and I did. I I think all of us, we were glad it turned out that way, and we finished the recordings, and we went out on tour, and then live it was even better. And I remember that I said to the guys, I managed to sing those tracks, but I have no idea on the tour for 6 months in America if I survived the first 4 weeks.
Right.
I have no idea. I really don't know. So it was like, well, it's been the longest encore, as we know now, and fortunately it worked out fine. And for me, with all the success that came in with this record, for me the best part was my voice was back, and I was not thinking about anything else. This is just the reality of a singer. And when you lose your instrument and you fight so hard to get it back, and it's been a story that's been pretty dramatic for me, and it's been a story of friendship as well, and bringing this team even stronger together, going through those hard times, troubled times, and we've made it all together, and what came out was a very powerful record, and the success of the tour topped it on top of it. It was the ice on the cake. Was fantastic.
You were worried about doing 4 to 6 weeks coming off of Blackout and going on tour. How long did the Blackout tour go for total?
Much more than a year.
Yeah.
I remember we came from LA to Tokyo, and we were given these wonderful looking aluminum backstage passes with some Japanese design on it, and it had the number 182. And I was so stupid to ask our tour manager, what does this number mean? And he said, that's show number 182. And so I remember this because we were always talking about we give 100%. We were all jet lagged, we were all tired. And when he told me that, I realized to the Tokyo fans, it's show number 1.
Right.
And for us, it's show number 182. And we have to give it 100% again, even though we are jet lagged and tired, just because it's number 1 for them, and they deserve it.
We will get the audience questions in the last segment now, but a couple quick things about what's going on now. You mentioned during the break, Klaus, you recorded a couple new songs?
Yeah, there's like a Best of Ballads album coming out with Sony Music later this year in the fall, and they wanted us to come up with a couple bonus tracks, and we went in the studio, and everybody came up with great ideas. And before we came here, we just finished the recording sessions and listened to the first mixes and stuff, and sounds pretty good, and it's gonna be a Best of Ballads, but with those new tracks. And it's got to be a cool project. Sony Music approached us and said, come on, guys, you have so many powerful songs, and we want to put it together in some kind of compilation you guys never did before. So that's coming out, I guess, in November. And
so it's the romantic Scorpion set. It's all the ballads.
It's all the ballads, and I don't know if
Hate to Be Nice is the title track from Face the...
No, but it will be a real powerful album, and in many parts of the world. Don't forget, here in America, it's more the rock you like a hurricane, it's more the hard stuff. But in other parts of the world, Scorpions are very famous for the ballads, like Lovin' You. In France, they go like, oh, le slow, it's like... yeah, and
Still Loving You is big here, though, too.
Yeah,
that
it's
was
big
big
here,
here.
too. So, or in Asia, they love the ballads. Or in Russia, Wind of Change, all those songs are very powerful, equally as powerful as Rock You Like a Hurricane here. I didn't want to say the hurricane words, but okay. But so they're in different. We talked about this in different parts of the world. People like different types of music, and. So we can offer this between the rockers and the ballads. That was also a popular album a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember that compilation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always Somewhere is one of my favorites, if you want to
Yeah,
go back.
that's a cool song.
Great song.
Yeah.
We've got to hit a break, and then we're going to come back. We have a little more time here with Klaus and Matthias. Again, see Scorpions going out on tour with Megadeth. Go to the website, I think, is thescorpions.com, if I'm not mistaken. Do we know for sure? I think so,
Yes.
right? Thescorpions.com. Go there, find a date wherever you're listening, see if the guys are coming your way. They start in Pennsylvania and then hit Madison Square Garden and then work their way around the country. Traveling coach by the back seat, putting Matthias all the way in the back.
Yeah, I have the back lounge reserved.
We'll come back. We'll take some questions from the audience as we continue with the guys and Scorpions here on this Town Hall on Sirius XM Volume.
Sirius XM Volume presents a Town Hall with Scorpions. Will return in just a few minutes on Volume, Sirius XM 106. Sirius XM Volume presents a Town Hall with Scorpions. Now, back to your host, Eddie Trunk.
All right, we're on Facebook Live, and of course, we're on volume here with the Sirius XM Town Hall. This time around with Scorpions. It's great to spend some time catching up with Klaus and Matthias and our audience that is sitting here in front of us. And before we run out of time, let's get our questions from the audience for the guys. And we're going to start off with Russ Nastasi, if I'm saying that right. Where are you, Russ? Here you go, Russ, right in the front row. He's got the VIP seat. You're Rusty. No, he's just Russ.
Close.
Get that mic up close so we can hear you, Russ.
Okay, my question is, have you had any collaborations with any of the new metal bands that are out today?
You mean the young and upcoming ones?
Correct.
Megadeth.
Yeah.
Younger, right?
Exactly.
Any bands that you've seen today
I
that
mean, the collaboration, you mean if we recorded or played with them? Influenced. We influenced them, but not the other way around.
That's what I would think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I mean, here and then, their managers, they come approach us and go like, come on, Klaus, how about like singing a duet with, there's a young German band, they call it Beyond the Black. It's like a young symphonic metal band. They have a female singer, and we had them on tour with us in Germany, being our support band, our special guest. And pretty cool band. I just saw they go for the first time to Japan now, play Loud Park Festival. So they're also like a German band, singing in English and trying to make it like going all over the world. Pretty cool. It didn't work out for me. I like the idea to support like a young German band. But it didn't work out because our own recording sessions and time was just limited and I couldn't make it. But this kind of thing is what you're talking about. And I think here and then it's really worth take a closer look. And then if you like it, and go for it, you know. I did a duet song with Ed Guy, the band Avanstasia. It's called The Project. It's also a German band. And we did a song together a couple of years ago. And that was pretty cool.
Do you guys keep up with music that comes out today with the younger bands when you play on festivals? Do you get a chance to see them, or is it usually just kind of in and out and you don't really get to keep up? Or do you keep up with what's going on today?
I mean, it's really difficult for us to see what's going on in the afternoon. We are always closing the show. So, especially on festivals, we play 10 at night in Southern Europe, maybe midnight, you know, very, very late. So we have to conserve our energy and not hang around the place in the afternoon, especially when it's like 100 degrees outside, like this summer in Spain. It's difficult. So we miss the live performances of those bands in the afternoon. It's nothing we can do.
Right. Where's Timothy Torres? Hey, Timothy, you're up next. We'll get you a mic.
Hi, guys. My question is there any differences in playing in the 80s and now?
Yes, I mean, if I understand the question right, even though we play the very same songs, times have changed. We are like in a time capsule, you know, we do the same thing, the world changes, and 30 years later, you have the feeling, if you really go deep into it, that it's received in a different way. You know, there's the same people from the 80s in the audience who have changed themselves also. They're also like 30 years older. And it's not the same, to answer your question. It is we play the same, but the world has changed. And our music, it used to be, I remember they played like songs like No One Like You, Rocky Like a Hurricane in 82, 84, 86, 7 in the supermarket, you know, in the grocery store. But today, not anymore. So yeah, that means like the music was so established at some point that you felt like you are part of the whole world and the generation that was like loving this type of music. That is like memory lane to many, many people today. And even though the places we play are full and the people love it, and we have a whole new generation listening to our music, but they're yet so much younger. They are not part of this when this all was founded, when this was, you know, created. So it is different today.
Klaus, anything you want to add about the differences now?
No, that's absolutely right. You know, the world has changed, and the the good thing is, you know, playing after all these years, playing in front of 3 generations, you know, I think that's a privilege, really, to see also the young kids in front of the stage. You know, so people sometimes they ask us, you know, so Klaus, how long you want to do this, you know? And my answer is, if you would see what I see when I go out on stage and see all those kids in front of the catwalk, you know, going totally nuts, singing along songs that were written way before they were even born, you know, it's just wonderful that we can make the connection, that our music can make the connection with a young audience as well. And the older folks sitting up there, you know, and they watch it and puts a big smile on their faces to see the kids rocking out the same they did back in the 80s, right? So it's a cool thing.
So yeah, the older folks sitting up there, staying out of the sun and coming late too, so they don't get too tired, right?
Yeah.
Let's get another question here from real quick before we take our next question. I do want to ask, you just touched on it. Is it safe to say that Scorpions aren't going anywhere for a while? Because again, you did what was kind of at the start was positioned as somewhat of a farewell tour, and then very quickly you said, "No, we don't know what we're going to do." What is the future? How do you feel? I mean, do you think this is going to keep going for a while, or what are you thinking?
Well, we're riding into the sunset, right? No, I mean, we should have called this tour Unknown Territory Tour, you know, because for our generation of bands, you know, every other year getting older, you know, it means you really don't know, you know. Right now, it feels so good in our hearts. I mean, we're 20, you know, but the body is getting older, you know. So that means, who knows, you know? Just we saw the Stones at a big show in Germany. Wow, Jagger is 74, you know. He's doing an amazing job. I mean, but that's a blues band, you know. We're a hard rock band, so I don't know. It's a little different. It's no? Okay. So,
Mick still moves pretty good, though.
You know,
He moves. He's still moving.
yeah, he's moving like crazy. It's amazing, you know. And we always used to say, as long as the Stones, being a generation ahead of us, you know, as long as they can do it, we don't give up, you know. And
His name is Mick Jogger.
yeah,
I had Deep Purple here just last
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
and they gave a very similar answer to what
Yeah.
you. I asked. I had 3 guys from that band. I had Ian, and Roger, and they all gave sort of. We don't know, you know. We're just going to keep going. It feels
You know,
good. We're having
it's
fun.
Really like, it feels like we could do this forever because it feels so good, and it still feels so good. And it's really like a privilege that we still can live our dream. That's the truth, you know. But reality is also that getting older, you know, it's like it takes a lot of energy doing what we're doing, you know. And how long can we do it? I don't know. It's like really unknown territory with every other year. So we take it as it comes, you know, and hopefully we can hold up to this level for hopefully, well, I don't know, a long time to come, you know, but for some time to come. I hope so, you know, because it feels so good, you know. So what else can we do? We don't know, you know, because we're doing this for so long. No, but we'll see. You know, it's no predictions into the future. It's simply impossible. We're just lucky that we are one of those bands in this generations where so many bands, they have to stop for various reasons, you know. But it's just not. Let's see what is in our cards. We have to see what the future will bring. But right now, it feels fantastic.
And speaking of energy. You have a new member of the band. Matthias isn't the new guy anymore after 35, 40 years.
40, almost 39 to be exact. Yeah, we have
But
Mickey D now with us.
Yeah.
He is a very energetic person, and he's a fantastic drummer. He fits right in. We knew each other, like, you know, from the old Lemmy days, like for at least 30 years. Like, you know, we met each other, like, you know, not on a regular basis, but, you know, we knew who he was, and it didn't take long for him to adapt to the new situation. And Scorpions music is different, you know, more complicated arrangements here and there. But together we are a great team, and he fits right in, and he has a lot of power, which is good for us, and yeah, feels good with
He
him.
told me his biggest problem when he did, because I was at one of the first shows he played with you,
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yes,
he said
I know.
the biggest problem is he said he was looking for the cues and he couldn't see over the riser.
I know.
Where you
yeah,
guys
we shoot him way up there, and it's also the first time he plays with in-ear monitoring. That's the little headphones in your ears and not the big wedges, and it was totally different in Motorhead, but that is, he adapted very well.
Real quick, let's get our last two people in before we run out of time. Mike, where's Mike? Go ahead, Mike.
What's going on, guys?
A lot.
You guys still as passionate about playing and performing as when you first began?
We are definitely 100% passionate, and it's the same feeling when you get ready backstage. You know, I warm myself up, I play guitar, blah blah blah, and then you know you change and into your stage clothes, and then you know the lights go out, the curtains falling, and then you hear the roar of the audience, and then you're totally excited, and that hasn't changed at all.
Passion rules the game. Wasn't that a song at one
Absolutely.
point? There you go.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And where is Heather? Go ahead, Heather. Yes.
Thanks, guys, for staying true to the music. I really appreciate it. I'm sure all your fans do. What drives you to continue to tour the world?
What's the drive still? I think kind of Klaus touched on this, but what is the drive to continue? Because, you know, there's a lot of bands that don't like to leave as they get older. They don't want to travel so much. They don't want to go to certain parts of the world. Scorpions globally have always been huge all over the world. So to be able to get out, and I imagine it's a bit of a challenge. Sometimes you don't want to do all that travel, but we kind of touched on that before. It really doesn't bother you, huh? You still okay with it?
Well, not so far. I mean, Matthias mentioned that, like, these days, the travel part is more comfortable than it used to be. But still, you know, when you hit the jet lag, you know, and it is what it is, you know, and you have to get over it and make the best out of it. And it's, I think it's a thing when you go out on stage and everything works, you know, but bottom line is it's only fun when you're healthy and when you can do it. Otherwise, it's a struggle. If you be on a tour like this and you're not in top shape, you better stay at home. You know, that's just, I mean, that goes.
But you can't.
Yeah, that goes for everybody, I guess. You know, it's, I mean, you have to really try to treat yourself in a way that you can go through all this madness and to really realize such a crazy schedule sometimes. You play one night in Toronto, then just jump on the bus, and next morning you wake up in Chicago, and the same night you're on stage in Chicago, you know. And
It's about 8 days from now.
and you ask yourself, Klaus, how many times I did this in my life? And, you know, and this is the kind of thing where it's can be a lot of pressure as well, because you want to deliver every night a great show. And it's only fun, especially for a singer, if your pipe's doing it as well. You know, so to go on tour, do a world tour like this, like we're doing for so many years, it's like my heart says, yes, yes, you know. My vocal cords go, oh, God, not again, you know.
And that's why I've had the opportunity over my years to introduce a lot of bands. And when I walk out on stage, a lot of times I'll look out at the monitor and it'll say, you are in Chicago. Because you guys, it's such a blur to remember what city you're in.
Yeah, but we never had the problem. The old Hello Cleveland running gag there never happened to us.
No.
Actually, we are very aware of where we are, where we're going to, and we always paid a lot of attention to that. I don't know where that comes from, that you know, that famous saying, oh, hello Cleveland.
Spinal Tap. Yeah, Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that never happened to us, and we have also, especially when we talk about like things in the past, usually when we are interviewed by somebody, we have great memory of all the places we went to. This could be like 35 years ago. We all somebody joins in and says, yeah, and remember that detail.
Matthias,
we are
I
very
hate to
much aware of what we are doing all these decades.
I hate to cut you off, but that music means we have to
I
end.
need to save my voice.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for 50 years.
Thank you.
50 years of amazing music. Go to thescorpions.com for a tour date near you. Great to see you guys. Have a great tour. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Thank you very much.